Question number 12, Joanne Hayes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for the Environment. What steps is he taking through the Resource Management Act 1991 process to support cycleways and to facilitate their design and construction as quickly and economically as possible?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Today I have approved the New Zealand Transport Agency's application for requiring authority status under the RMA for cycleways. This puts them on the same status as for motorways, for railways, for telecommunications and other facilities, and with that requiring authority enables them to gain access and to acquire the land necessary for cycleway construction around New Zealand. The decision will better enable the government to deliver on its ambitious plans for safer and more convenient urban and rural cycleways.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Joanne Hayes.
Thank you. What specific initiatives will be assisted by this decision and when will that take place?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, in June the Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport announced 18 urban cycleways and additional funding of $100 million. This is on top of the $50 million that was committed by the Prime Minister to the network of rural cycleways. This requiring authority status will help the delivery of all of those across the country. The new impact will take into effect on the 17th of December and enable NZTA to have access to these new streamlined processes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Joanne Hayes.
Thank you. How will the approval benefit cycleway initiatives across the country and which particular cycleways will be helped by this decision?
Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the requiring authority status is particularly helpful in urban areas where it cuts across a large number of urban authorities. I hear Mr Little doesn't particularly support this initiative. I think New Zealanders do. They will be particularly pleased. That will enable the advancement of cycleways and Sea Path project on the North Shore that I know my colleague Maggie Barry has strongly advocated. It will improve the safety on Tamaki Drive and access to that cycleway. And of course in the capital, it will enable them to get on with the Hutt Valley to Wellington cycleway projects that I think all members in this House support.
Order.
Supplementary question.
Order. Order. Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Can the Minister please explain to rural New Zealand why cycleways are a bigger priority for National than 31,000 kilometres of unsealed roads, over 3,000 of them being in the electorate of Northland, along with 778 single-lane bridges?
Order. Order. The Honourable Order. Order. So that we can hear the answer of the Honourable Dr Nick.
Mr Speaker, I'd be happy for my colleague, the Minister of Transport, to provide a long list of rural projects in constituencies like mine on the West Coast, in Marlborough, in Bay of Plenty and Northland that are being constructed. But I'd also say to the member, there's very strong support in rural and provincial New Zealand for the Prime Minister's national network of cycleways.
Order. We move now. Order. Order.